Time to talk about focusing. In this video, I'm going to talk about manual and autofocus, different types of autofocus, why people like myself like back button focus and what on earth that is, along with the focus points you can expect to see in the viewfinder and how to use them. This video is part of my technical fundamentals course, which builds to create an entire beginner's course to the basic nuts and bolts of photography. There's a new video coming out every week, pretty much Friday afternoon as best as I can manage it, and there's always a blog post to accompany each video at my blog, photosmudger.com. If you like what I'm doing, hit like, subscribe, comment. I'll try and answer any questions you've got. Without mucking about anymore, let's get on and talk about focusing. Now, focusing is pretty critical in photography. The occasional bit of blur now and again is forgivable and can be used artistically, but generally speaking, if your images are continually out of focus, people are going to talk. Nowadays, of course, it's pretty easy to get things in focus. Pretty much every single camera out there comes with autofocus rather than manual focus, and the systems nowadays are extremely accurate and very, very sophisticated. Lots of autofocus systems will also let you use manual focus as well, should you wish to, sometimes in an actual override rather than choosing to switch between the two. You'll be surprised that even an old school Luddite like me only uses manual focus maybe 2 or 3% of the time. Autofocus really will cover you for most eventualities, and I suspect whatever camera you're using's probably got pretty decent autofocus, so you're off to a good start already. Autofocus falls broadly into two basic modes. You have single shot and continuous. Now, these are sometimes called different things, different camera brands, different manufacturers, something like AI focus or whatever, but effectively you've got focus that focuses once and focus that works continuously. So single shot or continuous. Single shot is ideal for static subjects, portraits that aren't moving around, landscapes, architecture, that sort of thing, because basically when you press the shutter or the focus activation button, the camera tries to focus, gets in focus, and normally it won't let you shoot unless it decides you're in focus. By comparison, continuous focus keeps focusing as long as you keep your finger on the shutter or on the focus activation button. So ideally, continuous focus is used for things like moving subjects. If you're trying to track players in a five-a-side football game or something, keeping your finger on the focus button in continuous focus mode will move as they move. The focusing should try and keep up with them. In single shot, it won't. It will just stop. It will try and get in focus, and if it can't get in focus, it won't let you shoot. Okay, so they have different uses, different applications, different tools for the job, as is so often the case. Now, I keep mentioning this mythical focus activation button whenever I talk about focusing and the shutter, or I've even possibly mentioned back button focus in the past. What on earth am I talking about? Well, many cameras, certainly more advanced cameras, have often more than one way of focusing. I mean, more than one button you can press that will bring the image into focus. This D4, for example, has an AF on button on the back, just there, okay? What that allows you to do is go back to how things were in the olden days when we had manual focus lenses and no choice of autofocus, which is separate out shooting and focusing as two different operations. Right away, you're probably thinking, why on earth would I want to do that? They've laboured for decades to create this enormously convenient system where all I have to do is press the shutter and everything happens for me at once. True, it's very, very convenient, very, very handy. But there are lots of situations where separating out the action of taking the picture and the camera focusing can be very useful. To give you one example, I, for my sins, photograph quite a lot of golf. I'm not actually a golfer, but it's just one of those strange situations I find myself in. I'm frequently asked, in that instance, to photograph a golfer taking a swing, okay? Now, that's going to happen very, very quickly. I'm often trying to catch the precise moment of impact when their club hits the ball, okay? If I have taken the picture and focusing on the same button, then as I try and start to take the picture, the camera will try and bring things into focus, okay? Now, even with the fastest autofocus system in the world, that's going to take some time, even if it's microseconds, because the camera will inevitably go shh and try and focus on something. The problem is, this golfer is swinging their club down very, very fast indeed, and microseconds can matter. By comparison, if I have shooting and focusing as two separate operations, then I can pre-focus on him before I start shooting, because I know I'm not going anywhere and he's not going anywhere, so I can lock focus, if you like, on where he is. And then as he starts to swing his club, I can press the shutter at the exact moment I think I need to catch the action of the club hitting the ball, and the camera will just shoot. The camera will not try and focus because I've separated out the action of shooting and focusing, and they're two different things. This back button focusing can also be useful for lots of action and sports photography. For example, let's say you're photographing a crowded football game, people running around the place very fast, and you're following focus, you've got continuing focus on, and as you keep your finger pressed on the focus activation, the camera and the lens are focusing back and forth as people move. The problem you get is that people perhaps run in front of you. They run between you and the person you're focusing on, or a ball flies in front of it, and inevitably, if you're shooting and focusing with the same button, the camera will instantly try and focus on that thing that just crossed in front of you. Okay, or it might catch focus on that and still be focusing on it even as that thing leaves the frame, and you're still trying to maintain focus on this thing in the background. So by having them as two separate operations, you can choose when to focus and when to shoot. Now, of course, I'm a big fan of this because, as we know, I'm a very, very old school, very Luddite kind of guy who in the olden days it was manual focus and you shot, and there was no option to have one button that did everything. However, it's a habit I've been into for donkey's years, and I maintain it does give me sharper images because I'm better able to choose when to focus and when to shoot. It does mean that when random people pick my camera up and try and use it, they generally can't get things in focus, but I just find that quite amusing. If you're using a modern camera with autofocus, when you bring it to your eye, or you look at the back of the screen to compose with, you'll probably see lots of little squares that often light up when you try and focus and take the picture. Those are focusing points, and nowadays modern cameras tend to have many, many, many of them. In the olden days, when autofocus first came along, you basically had the viewfinder and one spot in the centre, which was where you could focus. So if what you wanted to take a picture of was off-centre, you would either have to manually focus on it, or you would have to frame the shot up and then recompose and focus again, or lock focus on them and recompose because you only had one point. Nowadays, that doesn't generally tend to be a problem. In fact, you can often have viewfinders and sensors that are almost full of focus points. Modern mirrorless cameras, smaller crop sensor cameras nowadays quite often have focus points that fill the entire viewfinder, and you can set them to do all sorts of clever things like they'll track movement, they'll understand depth. You can, of course, personally also choose them by selecting them via various switches on the back of a camera that will allow you to lock, say, one particular off-center focus point or just the center point. If you've got them, use them. They will obviously all function slightly different depending on exactly what camera you've got. This is one of those RTFM moments. Read the manual. Go and look at exactly how yours work and what modes it will do and what it is and isn't capable of, because you'll find it makes your life much easier. Again, I'm still very, very old-fashioned. I still slightly nowadays, even though this thing has got, 50-something focus points, I still slightly tend to recompose and focus just because old habits die hard, unfortunately. But you don't have to have old habits. You can start new. Go and read your camera's manual and take the best advantage of all the extremely high-tech, clever, multiple focus points you've probably got. Now, the precise number and nature of the focus points you've got in your exact camera can vary enormously, as I say. But one thing is fairly consistent, and that is that the points closest to the centre tends to be the most accurate. I'm going to tell you in more detail later on about exactly how autofocus works, but the most efficient, most effective points are often, if not the centre point, then the centre point and the ones clustered around it. You may need to bear that in mind if you're trying to do something particularly smart with your camera, such as tracking very fast-moving subjects. Make sure what you want to get in focus is what you're actually focusing on. Once upon a long, long time ago, when I was still doing work experience, I was working with somebody who's a very, very experienced portrait photographer. This is long before digital. This is days of big, old, medium format film. And he had a great big camera in his hands and these two models in front of him. And every single time, before he took a shot, he would frame on the eyes and then reframe slightly to get the shot right, and then take a picture, reframe on the eyes, reframe slightly, reframe and focus, reframe and focus, take the picture, reframe and focus. Every single time before he pressed the shutter, he was refocusing on the eyes, checking and checking and checking and checking over and over again. I'd never seen this done before, and I said, what are you doing? He said, if the eyes are out of focus, you really, really notice. certainly in a portrait. And so it's absolutely critical for him to get that right. Now, this is in the days before autofocus with different sensors around the frame where you can place one of the AF sensors right over somebody's eye, and that way you don't have to keep recomposing. You don't have to keep moving the camera up to their eye line and back down again. You can simply pick a focus point you want and just go, yep, just check it's focused. But the habit still stands. Make sure the bit you want to be in focus is what you're focusing on, right? If it's a portrait, obviously the eyes are pretty critical. Landscape, it might be the focal point you're trying to draw attention to, but make sure that's what you're actually focusing on. You may need, in this instance, to manually override, okay? Because from time to time, let's say you're shooting a landscape and you're on a tripod and you've got your frame very much locked off and you're set in place, but what you want to focus on is actually outside the range of where your focus point sits in the viewfinder. So every time you try and focus, the camera just focuses on a rock nearby or a mountain in the background. That's when you step in, turn autofocus off, and manually focus on exactly the bit you want, okay? Don't be afraid to override it. These things are amazing, okay, but they're still not quite as clever as the human brain and the human eye. There you go. All you need to understand the basics of focusing. Next week, I'm going to try and give you a fairly quick overview of depth of field, although it can be quite a complicated subject. As always, you know what to do. Hit like if you like it, subscribe to get notifications, and I'll see you next week.